For new retirees, the next 5 years of your portfolio is the most important, according to Morningstar. And we're going to jump into this thing right here, which I like. I like Morningstar. And this is my man, Jeffrey Patak. Right? Remember old George Pataki, the old governor of New York who took out Mario Cuomo. It turns out George Pataki was just an establishment Republican, but hey, it was better than Mario Cuomo. Anyway, so this is written by Amy Arnott, Christine Benz, Tao Guo, and Jason Kephart. Now, I know Christine. I'm not familiar with these two guys, and I know Amy. I don't know them personally. I'm just saying I've read of them before, and I like Morningstar. I criticize them on occasion, but I like Morningstar. I think they do absolutely quality work. I've always wondered if Amy Arnott is married or a sister of maybe Rob Arnott. Amy is our CFA, and as is Rob. Rob runs the research affiliates, who I'm a big fan of. I think they're also out of Chicago. Actually, I know Morningstar is out of Chicago. I wonder if research affiliates out of Chicago. I'm not going to take time. I've just always wondered that. Because they're both, there's a powerhouse in investment and financial planning stuff. Anyway, so we're going to go right here. I'll share with some issues I have on this study, but I find it very intuitive actually and very interesting nonetheless. Likelihood of outliving retirement savings by year 1 through 5 of retirement. And we're using this quintile, your average rate of return, average return per year. I wish they would have said annualized rate of return, but either way. Average return. If you're in the worst quintile, the worst 20% of average rates of return annualized, you can see you only had a negative return of negative 4% a year. That's it. And yet 75% of the time you ran out of money, your money did not outlive you. That's not good, man. That's not good. Now, if you only had a 4% rate of return, that's it. 17% of the time, that's it, did you run out of money. We're not talking swinging for the fences here. If you had the middle of the road here, and then 8% average return, which I think is quite high, but only 5% of the time did you run out of money. So I think this is more reasonable. 4% annualized rate of return in the first 5 years of retirement, and yet you still only less than 20% of the time did you run out of money. Not too shabby. Let's keep going. There's old Christine. You got to have a red shirt on, Christine. You look better. The red, it looks better on blonde-headed ladies. The red always looks better. How do I know? Because I'm a fashionista. All right, let's keep going here. Likelihood of outliving retirement savings by year and whether investments lost or gained. All right. So here, lost through year 1. That's it. Just a loss through year 1. 15% of the time, you ran out of money. All right. If you had a gain in year 1, only 7% of the time did you run out of money. It doesn't say the percentage. It just says positive or negative. That's it. If you lost money in year 1 and 2, you had a 20% chance of running out of money. We go all the way here to year 5. You lost money through year 5, 40% of the time you outlived your money. Right there. Likelihood of outliving retirement year, and whether investments lost or gained. They're just saying loss or gain, positive or negative. If you had gains after year 5, only 4% of the time you ran out of money. Now remember, the difference between these two things right here is this says your average rate of return in the quintile, negative 4%, positive 4%. This is just saying, did you have positive or negative? That's it. If you had positive returns at the end of year 5, you actually made money from year 1 through year 5, your likelihood of running out of money drops to only 4%. Yet, if you had losses in year 1 through 5, your likelihood of running out of money is down to 40%. Not good. And then we'll go to this one right here. Likelihood of outliving savings by retirement savings by avoiding losses in year 1 through 5. Year 6, 3%. Interesting. Percentage of trials that failed. Year 6, if you avoided losses in year 1 through 5, only 3% of the time did you run out of money. After year 6, you can see right there. You can see so basically, if you avoided losses in years 1 through 5, the likelihood of you running out of money is less than 5%. Crazy, isn't it? All right. Now my issue is the methodology of the study, and again, we're using I've done a video on this, the safe withdrawal rates for Morningstar, and again, they assume that there are some issues in there. They just assume I'm not going to bring it up. I've done a video on this before that I just don't like. All right. They're assuming the lower rates of return relative to standard historical, which I actually like a lot. Their spending assumptions are somewhat suspect. I say suspect, it's not the right word, but somewhat. I'm just kind of challenging on that a little bit. I'm like, I'm not sure I like the methodology per se. in terms of their spending, what they think you're going to spend, you're going to increase their spending, whatnot. There is some issues there that I like quite a bit, and there's some issues that I don't like quite a bit. I mean, but every methodology is suspect. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So they are using very low rates of return going forward, which I actually like 100%. Their methodology of spending is somewhat, again, just debatable. But hey, man, my methodology of spending is somewhat debatable too. I get it. But at the end of the day, I'm still fond of Morningstar and what they're doing here. And they're just proving once again that your first 5 years are critical. Now, the biggest methodology issue I have is the idea that you're ever not, you can ever not be in the first year of your retirement. In year 6, it's still year 1 for you. Just because the 5 years behind you are gone doesn't mean, because you don't know how long you're going to live. You're still, the sequence of return risk never goes away. So it might be in year 6 in terms of the overall aggregate retirement, but you're still in year 1 for you specifically. You're still saying my retirement, yes, I've lived 5 years since, but that doesn't mean I have 5 years less to live in the future. We just don't know. We just don't know. And so you're always at a sequence of return risk. This is my issue with this. You know, stocks in the long run, stocks get less risky the older you get, the longer you hold them. That's just not true. I mean, they still get more. They're still just as risky. It's like flipping a coin. I have 10 straight heads. The likelihood of me getting ahead and flip 11 is still 50%. Just because I had 10 straight doesn't mean the likelihood of me getting it doesn't change the dynamics of what my next coin flip will be. Same thing with sequence of return risk. Just because I'm 5 years older now, I'm still staring at the precipice of another 20, 30 years of retirement. I just don't know. We just don't know. 10 years of retirement. And if you do these, if you are 5 years behind you, and now you're in 2007, all right, so those 5 years from 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, all right, those are, other than 2002, you've had a cumulative growth on your portfolio. But now we're looking at the precipice called 2007, 8, and 9. And if you had 100% stocks in the S&P 500, you're down 57%. That doesn't include taking money out. So even though the safety net has basically widened and gotten more specific, you still haven't extinguished the sequence of return risk. And they even admit that here. I mean, they say right here, hold on a second. They just say this doesn't extinguish all risk altogether. Risk of failure altogether. Losses in subsequent years could prove just as lethal as losses in the first 5, depending on the depth and the duration. Yeah, but it's far less common for losses outside the first 5 years of retirement to waylay a plan. And I completely agree with that. Absolutely. So anyway, it's a good study. It just, oh my goodness, it just shows you again. You've got to change your mindset from accumulation to protection. Once you hit retirement, you got to say, I get it, man. I love those 25% year pops. Is great, but I can't afford a 22% loss to try to capture that 25% pop. I just can't. I got to make sure that I'm getting guaranteed rates of return. And all these people are negative on what the hell they call it, structured notes and things like that, or fixed annuities, or even CDs. I'm just like, dude, the first 5 years, we've got to avoid the freaking grinder. We've got to. And that's why something like a Wellesley fund is such a wonder. Look, I'm not saying invest in it. I'm not, you do what you got to do. But it's like, man, the worst case scenario of Wellesley is less than 10% historically. Can I guarantee you that? No. But I just like, that's why it's so important. Or to have cash. I mean, the barbell, one of those two things, it's just, it works like a charm because it says at the end of the day, I've mitigated to some degree, the best I can, some risk. I still have to worry about inflation. I get that. And that's never going away. I still would like to get some positive returns so I can spend more money. I get that too. But if you get a 4 to 5 to 6% rate of return with minimal risk, that ain't too shabby, man. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, that's for sure. All right, God bless. Smash that like button. Let me hear your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you.